And we will get our meeting started. Good morning, everyone. This is the Program Review Process Advisory Council meeting on April 21st, 2025 at 9 a.m. Thank you, everyone, for accommodating the time schedule. We are grateful for the flexibility in people's responsiveness. So thank you for that. Let me share my screen and share the agenda, and if we could have a motion to, we do not, I need to do a roll call. Please forgive me. Actually, why don't we just go round robin? I'll just call on folks to introduce themselves. So Dr. Meyer-Lee.
Present, I'm provost at Goucher College.
Great, thank you. Dr. Milner. Oh, you're on mute.
Could not find my mouse, the arrow, where I'm on 3 different screens. I'm Tanya Milner, and I'm Provost and Vice President for Learning at Anne Arundel Community College. Great to see everyone this morning.
Great, thank you. Dr. Ganji.
Good morning, Stephen Ganji, Executive Vice Provost at Johns Hopkins.
Great, thank you. President Yam.
Mary Lou Yam, President, Notre Dame, Maryland University.
Great, I'm just going along my screen. Secretary Rai.
Good morning, everyone. Sanjay Rai, Secretary, Maryland Higher Education Commission.
Great. Dr. Phillips.
Good morning, Brad Phillips, the Maryland Association of Community Colleges.
Great. Dr. Dreyer.
Good morning, everyone. Christy Dreyer, Vice President of Academic Programs at Cecil College and the current chair of M4CAO.
Great. Thank you. Dr. Willis.
Good morning, everyone. Daria Willis, President at Howard Community College.
Great. Thank you. A.G. Ward.
Kimberly Ward, Principal Counsel, Maryland Higher Education Commission.
Thank you. Dr. Ginsburg.
Good morning, everybody. Mike Ginsburg, President at Towson.
Great. Dr. Perman.
Hi, Jay Perman, USM.
Great. I'm gonna pause for a minute. Dr. Jaskin. I think we're getting feedback.
So
I'm gonna mute you.
Okay.
Great.
Good morning. President Wilson has another meeting that's going on right now, and he'll try to join when he can.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Key. Since you're talking, do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Hi, yes, I'm Phyllis Keys. I'm the Associate Vice President for Academic Affairs at Morgan State University.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Keys. We'll go back up to the order that I was going in. President Power. Sorry.
Matt Power, President Micchio. Good morning.
Great. Dr. Silva.
Hi, good morning. Lindsay Silva, Associate Director of Academic Program Review for MHEC.
Great. Ms. Nguyen.
Good morning. I'm Alexandra Nguyen, Administrative Specialist for Maryland Higher Education Commission.
Thank you. Dr. Williams.
Good morning. Felicia Williams, President, Prince George's Community College.
Great. Thank you. Dr. Jaskin.
Good morning. Julia Jaskin, President of McDaniel College.
Great. Thank you. Dr. Gantz.
Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Gantz. I'm the Vice President for Academic Affairs and the Dean of Faculty at St. Mary's College of Maryland.
Great. I think we grabbed everyone. I'm Emily Dow. I'm the Assistant Secretary for Academic Affairs here at the Maryland Higher Education Commission. Let me just share my screen for the purposes of just reviewing the agenda. If we're here primarily to talk about the draft template for letters of intent and where we're going with that and get feedback from you all and provide a couple of updates on recent legislative changes and just general updates regarding program approval. So if I can have a motion to approve the agenda, pending no additions.
Second.
Great, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Great, we can just say aye, raise your hand. Great. Any opposition is really the big question. If not, we will move ahead with this agenda. For those of you who followed legislative session, there was a bill this past session, the 2025 session, that made changes to House Bill 1244 from last legislative session. House Bill 1244 is the bill that created this whole letter of intent process. Senate Bill 9 from this legislative session made some amendments regarding the letter of intent process. So I do want to go through those amendments to make sure everyone is aware of those amendments and what they look like. So again, let me share my screen. There are only a couple of changes, but they are significant. One big change for the letters of intent is that originally it was only required for public institutions. Now, private nonprofit institutions of higher education also need to participate in the letter of intent process. So that is one important change. A second important change is that this may not be construed to give an institution the right of first refusal for any program included in a letter of intent submitted to the commission under this section. So it's not intended to be a right of first refusal. The third important change is it obligates the agency to do a few more things beyond just ensuring collaboration and trying to prevent duplication. So it's here, so just bear with me while I read it. After review of the letters of intent submitted by each institution, the commission shall determine whether an intended program is similar to an existing program or another intended program included in another institution's letter of intent. If the commission determines that an intended program is similar to another program, the commission may notify the affected institutions of its determination, provide feedback, and encourage discussions and collaborations between the institutions. This is important because in the previous line, we were to be expected to circulate each letter of intent. We are no longer required to circulate each letter of intent, and we are not allowed to post the letter of intent to our website. So that changes the process. It changes the information that we are sharing with each other. And it puts the burden on the commission, on the agency, to not only determine if there's potential duplication, but then subsequently inform the relevant institutions if there is potential duplication. And again, we are obligated to provide feedback and encourage discussions and collaborations between the institutions. I will throw this link into the chat so that you all can review this on your own. Are there questions, comments, thoughts? There's a lot of other changes that this bill does to academic program review, but for the purposes of letters of intent, I wanted to highlight the sections that were changed regarding letters of intent. Let me open it up for questions, comments, discussions. I'll hold it for one more second. Do I need to scroll to any other part of this section for these edits? Okay. There are no questions, then we will move into a discussion around the template and see what you all think. Okay. So those legislative will be reflected in the instructions that we provide and the guidance we provide for this template. Secretary Ryan.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Dow, to you and your team's your contribution to this important work. During our last meeting, we shared a letter of intent process, and we heard some feedback, and they were really very helpful feedback. So it will be important to share how we are accommodating those requests, basically to simplify the process. Letter of intent, as we presented last time, it was quite involved. At least that's what people thought. And our idea was to simplify it based on the feedback and also understand what institutional processes exist, because institutions have their own processes and they'll be following that. So the idea was, if we can just be as close as possible to institutional processes so that work will not be duplicated. So let's move with that intent here. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Secretary. So again, this template was shared with you all last week. We can spend a bit of time just walking through it. It follows a similar pattern of questions that was discussed at our last meeting. Some basic information: draft program title, degree level, proposed modality, intended implementation date, a draft program description. And again, a lot of this we are saying draft because we know these are just ideas. This is just something that the faculty are thinking about, that maybe even administration is thinking about. So I do want to emphasize that we recognize that these are draft ideas, draft descriptions of what the proposed program might look like. So a draft program description, draft program learning objectives, and we've separated that out into both intended competencies and skills. What do you expect the student to learn? And where do you expect the student to gain employment? If this is intended for a specific employment outcome, what does that look like? The need for the intended program. We did receive some questions about the distinction of why we would ask for the difference between the genesis of the program and the need for the program. When we've gone through the academic program review process and we think about program duplication and the reason why a proposed program is coming forward, the difference between how it came to be, why this is coming forward versus the need for the program are sometimes two different pieces of information that is often helpful for us when we're thinking about duplication. For example, the genesis of a program may start from an industry partner saying, hey, we need people to do X, Y, and Z. However, the need for the program may be more of a reflection of contributing to existing programs. We're open to collapsing these. This isn't something that we need to get too much into the weeds on. So we did get feedback that genesis and need is potentially hard to tease apart. So I think we're planning to just go with what is the need for the program and take away the genesis. We ask questions about the reasonableness of program duplication. Are there similar programs listed on our API? If yes, identify those programs. If yes, why is it reasonable to offer a similar program? Provide data showing the current and projected supply of prospective graduates. If no, provide preliminary evidence that the program is or will not be duplicative of another current program offering in the state. We imagine that these will be short blurbs. We don't expect these to be long, lengthy essays, but some high-level bullet points so that we understand what you all on the campus are thinking in terms of making an argument that you don't think it's duplicative. We need some initial thoughts from you all to demonstrate and to feed us knowledge around the potential duplication that may exist. So again, we don't expect these to be lengthy answers, but an opportunity for your institution to share some initial thoughts around potential duplication with existing programs. We are interested to know if the program does lead to licensure or certification. It is a consideration that we consider. It is an element that we consider when we talk about program duplication. And we ask questions about the population to be served because this is often a point of distinction between two potentially curricularly similar programs. So if a program requires prerequisites, that changes the admissions criteria or it changes eligibility for one program versus another. So two programs that could look very similar, but only allows individuals in a STEM field versus individuals in any field. So that's why we care about prerequisites. And then any additional admissions requirements, testing requirements, additional background, work experience, perhaps. So that's why we asked those two questions, is because that could be a potential distinguishing factor from from a proposed program versus an existing program. All of those questions really are really to inform us on potential duplication. The next round of questions helps us understand potential collaborations. So we ask questions about resources, because if there's an opportunity to share resources, then there may be an opportunity for collaboration there. So that's why we're asking questions about, do you need new faculty? Are you going to need additional partnerships? Have you asked for capital funding for facilities? That may be an opportunity for collaboration with existing programs. So that's why we're asking the questions about resources. What additional resources are needed? So do you need more or specialized faculty? We often see that that you need specialized faculty to implement a program. Do you need a new building? And will capital funding be requested, or has it been requested? And then finally, how is the proposed program aligned with the institution's approved mission? This is a critical element for us to ask, as this is an important part of program duplication and ensuring that institutions are providing academic programs that are aligned with their approved mission. It is a reason for the potential of a objection, is that a proposed program is not aligned with an institution's approved mission. So that's why we ask that question, is we need a few sentences that demonstrate that there's been some consideration that the proposed program is well within the institution's mission. So that's kind of the quick review of the template as we have it. I'd like to open it up for discussion, see what additional feedback you may have. Again, we are here to align with your existing templates and your existing processes. However, I do want to emphasize the purpose of this letter of intent, again, has a very specific role in the academic program approval process. It is to identify potential collaborations and to identify potential duplication. So these questions are intended to get at those topics. I'll stop. Dr. Perman.
Just a general comment, Emily, and I know you are working very hard on this. I want to emphasize Secretary Rye's comment about avoiding duplicative work in this matter of duplication. And so, you know, I would simply ask you a high-level question. Having looked at this, is this the minimum that you need? Is there anything that can be further reduced? And I ask it not in any malicious way. We are all dealing now with an overload of work, and we care about our faculty, our staff. I spent a good deal of the legislative session saying to legislators, whatever you do, don't make us more work. Whether it's in joint reports, policy legislation, etc. And I feel obligated to say the same to you. Is this the bare minimum that you have to have, or is there still opportunity to make it simpler, to make it a further tiered process where we can provide tailored information? If it leads to more questions, then so be it. But I'm looking for simplicity, not for myself, but for everybody around me.
Sure. So we've had lots of internal conversations about this. Like I said, I think we can absolutely take away the question around the genesis of the program. We can certainly refine questions around the resources, but I think topically, these are the base elements. It is the minimum that we would need to evaluate potential collaboration and evaluate potential duplication. And I want to emphasize these answers do not need to be, we welcome more detail, but they can be 3-4 sentences, enough for us to be like, okay, great. This is information that we can go off of. If it merits follow-up questions, we would do that, but it gives us minimal information to be able to do those two things.
I think, Dr. Dow, it would be nice to see some of the samples from institutional processes and see what questions are there and then put this against it so we can compare. I think that could be helpful. And sometimes I think there's an argument to have more from some of our colleagues here too. Because, you know, I do hear, and rightfully so, that we are preparing students for future. So if you look at emerging areas, these questions do not, they all depend based mostly on jobs that exist today, right? So if someone, suppose an institution is trying to bring a program where you don't have the kind of data that you're looking for in these questions, what opportunity that institution will have to provide some information, some data, why this program is relevant, or it could become very relevant in the years to come. You know, just throw some examples like DNA computing, other things. You don't see jobs related to DNA computing right now. Area that died about 15, 20 years ago, but it's coming back again, right? So there has to be an opportunity for institutions that want to provide more information in support of their program. We have to provide that flexibility. At the same time, how can we make it easier for institutions that are not proposing those types of programs, right? So I haven't seen any institutional process yet. So it'll be nice to see them and compare. And wherever we can simplify, let's try to simplify. I think Dr. Ginsburg and then Dr. Mr. Powell.
Let me just say, we have shared, the U.S. shared our process.
We know.
Thanks, Sanjay. I can be brief. One is I want to concur with the Chancellor, but I also want to add and build on what you said, Sanjay. For me, one of the most important pieces for the state is not the issue of duplicating what is, but creating something that can be. And sometimes there are elements of duplication when you build something new. And when I read it, and I think it's greatly improved, Emily, over where we were last time. So thank you for hearing and listening to the feedback and creating a nice approach to this. But Sanjay, I agree with you. I think the coin of the realm is not to build what is, but to be able to describe what it is we're seeking to do. If Maryland's going to be competitive in the mid part of this 21st century, it can't be building the jobs of the past. It can't even be building the jobs of today. We have to be engaged in the fields and the domains and the professions of the future. And I read this, I think it's very present focused. I just hope we can, I hope for the sake of our state, we can build a future economy, not a current economy. And it has to start with education. It has to start with our universities. And we have to have the permission to do that.
Thank you, President Power. I think you're up next.
Thank you. Just one quick question, I guess is more process than related to the letter, although they're sort of intertwined. Assuming that an institution put in a letter of intent and the commission reviewed it and saw no opportunities for collaboration or concerns about duplication, then I presume at that point it sort of just goes in the file and that's that, right? And then they would submit another one and it would go in the file and that's that. The only way the institution would be getting feedback is if there was some concern on behalf of the commission. Is that the intent now?
So our expectation is we would have staff, staff would do an analysis, a brief analysis based on the information provided and reply back in either direction back to the proposing institution. So there would be some feedback And we would put some timeline on it. We're expecting 30 days. We don't expect this to be a long review for our staff to do, but provide that feedback. And then if there is duplication, so I know your question is if there isn't duplication, then we would write a letter and say, yeah, this looks great. We don't see any concerns, any major issues. Maybe we do see that there's collaboration potentially, but no issue on duplication. So we would write that back to the institution in some kind of formal capacity.
Okay, so, and sorry, just one quick follow-up. So sort of a boilerplate thing back if there's no major concerns. And then lastly, we talked last time about sort of the rolling basis. And I think, you know, particularly with the passage of the bill, I mean, it seems clear that institutions could submit at any given point a new letter of intent, and just you would continue to add it to the bottom of the list of all the other letters of intent they have, correct? There's not going to be a submission cycle. They could just sort of put them in as they are developed.
That is a good question. I need somebody to fact check me on this. My recollection is the statute does say every 6 months.
I think you're required to have them submit every 6 months, but there's nothing that prevents them from submitting more frequently.
Are you making a request that we accommodate a more frequent process?
I'm giving you my read of the statute, but I'm certainly interested in the commission's thoughts.
Okay, that's helpful feedback. That's helpful feedback. We can consider that and think through that for sure. I think if anything, we would want it just to be on some kind of schedule, so there is a bit of predictability. So even if it's every 2 months, that way we can get through a set, review it, get through a set, review it, right? Something along those lines. But I hear you. So every 6 months could be just a bit too lengthy in between.
I think great suggestions, but also you know, let's think about what Chancellor mentioned earlier. Higher education is under a lot of stress, right? So you know, these things you know, we have to do. This is our state law, state requirement. But how we do it is in our hands. We can start with something simple or simpler. And, you know, hopefully things nationally will change. I am optimistic always. And there will be a time once we go through a few of them, we may notice things and we can change it. It's not that what we start with is written in the stone and we'll be stuck with it, right? We will have our ability to change some of those things too. Again, also, now on this specific thing, what Dr. Dow has shared with us, you can give your feedback, written comments. Hey, maybe you want to minimize this, or you want to take this one out for now. But what I'm hearing from Dr. Dow, that on each one of this, some bullet points will be okay. It doesn't have to be, you know, half a paragraph or data or like a research report on each. It can be, there is an opportunity to simplify there. And President Ginsburg, I'm always interested in hearing from you. So let me make this very clear. You said if Maryland wants to be competitive. No, we want to be competitive. We are competitive. We will be economically competitive. That we will do for sure. No doubt about it. And your point is well taken. A lot of emerging areas, they don't start in the space or in the vacuum. They're connected to existing things. So some duplication will have to be allowed. Because the base knowledge, you like computer, if you take this the quantum computing, I don't think it's an emerging area. It's an emerged area, right? But it has a foundation in physics, mathematics, computer science. So it will emerge from there. So we have to understand that part of it. And again, I say this again, we are preparing a student for future. Just new academic programs will not give us the economic competitiveness that's needed. Just, you know, few new academic program every year will not make Maryland competitive. We have opportunity to align our existing hundreds of programs to what exists in the market. Everything is changing, right? You take the impact of AI. AI impacts everything, every major. How do we integrate, embed AI throughout the curriculum? Just an example. There could be other things as well. So program modification process that exists in Maryland now, you can change your program 50% without any MHAC kind of process. We just need to inform. So it's also, while we are focusing so much on the new program, rightfully so, let's also focus on existing programs. How are we aligning our existing program with the changing environment that gives our students an edge in the marketplace, and also our economy, Maryland's economy, becomes more competitive? I think we have to look at both sides. Thank you, Dr. Ginsburg, as always.
Dr. Ginsburg, you had your hand raised, but you put it down. Do you have anything more to add?
No, I just forgot to put it down earlier. Sorry.
Great, not a problem. Dr. Yam.
Thanks, Emily, and thanks for all the hard work throughout this process. I think that we spoke a bit at our last meeting about some of the issues that could arise if we couldn't submit on more of that rolling basis. So if we could just go, but I know a number of folks around the team's table discussed the drawbacks of that and how it puts us behind months, sometimes even over a year because of that. So I just want to bring that up. And under the point of distinctiveness, I think that, and I'm glad to see that the question was broadly written that way, because I think that the schools can discuss many different elements of distinctiveness, even though sometimes it is curricular, but sometimes it isn't. It's harder. But in relationship to mission, to the campus environment, and to partnerships that might be unique, et cetera. I think there's a lot of different ways. And most importantly, what will be? What's that creative piece that's pushing us forward that this new program would have, even if it has some similar elements? Thank you.
Thank you for that feedback. Helpful. And we will definitely consider the timeline. And we do want to try to keep some of these questions broad for that very reason, so that campuses can answer them as they see fit to make the argument and provide us with as much information, knowing that these are early stages of development. Dr. Keyes.
Thank you. My question may be similar to what they're saying about the submission a little bit earlier, more frequent, sounds in line with what I was thinking. But the other question I have is more probably fundamental than most people have here, is the letter of intent. Is that going to replace any part of the long proposal process we have? Or is that letter of intent and then the continuing long proposal process we have? The full proposal thing.
Yeah, I think at this point, it's letter of intent plus the full proposal.
Mm-hmm.
We'd probably like to get through one round of letters of intent. We are making some updates to the proposal template so that it's a bit clearer. And that's one of the updates that I want to share with you all for the next agenda item, is just some future thinking, what we're working on in terms of revisions, refinement of the proposal process, so that we can get it a little bit more streamlined. We know that the proposal is a heavy lift.
So is it no proposals accepted if letter of intent has not been vetted or whatever?
Correct. Yes, you have to do a letter of intent before a proposal.
Okay.
Yep. But revisions to the proposal template are forthcoming to hopefully make it clearer and streamlined.
Okay, revision. And one more thing that we heard, Dr. Da, is how often institutions can send letter of intent. Every 6 months, it looks like it's not enough. Maybe 3 months. We need to have a higher frequency.
Sure. Yeah, we will definitely consider that and come back to you all with a proposal. President Power.
And just to clarify, because it's not actually on the form, but for graduate programs.
Correct, for graduate programs.
Thank you.
This is for graduate programs. Yep. Yeah, we'll include all of that in instructions.
That would be great to keep specifying that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Keyes.
is this effective immediately for graduate programs or some later date?
Some later date. So let me talk through next steps. It seems like we're getting to that point. So based on not only today's discussion, but I have heard from a handful of you all that you will be sending some additional internal processes so that if there are questions that we can lift, if there's ways that we can align with your internal processes, we absolutely will do that. We'll finalize some instructions, some timelines. I'd like to bring this back to you all at the May meeting for one more review. I'd like to, pending, no major issues with what we present, I'd like to take it to our commission. It wouldn't be an adoption. It's just kind of their blessing that they like the process, that they're okay with the process. Eventually, we have to do regulations on this, but we want to get through a couple rounds of this, refine it, as Secretary Rye said, make changes, and then we would do regulations 6-8 months out from now. So I'd like for us to trial and error this for a few times. So I want to take it to our commission so that they see what we're doing, see how we're implementing a letter of intent, give them an opportunity for any feedback. If they have any thoughts, knowing that an objection, a duplication issue can go to them, they may want to add something into an early warning signal. We'll see. So pending no major changes from the commission at the May commission meeting, then we would have some kind of implementation date, maybe for July. We'll think through that. I'll present a full timeline at our May PRPAC meeting based on all of that information. So a final draft in a month that will reflect not only today's discussion, it will have instructions. It will also incorporate the new legislative changes. It will have proposed timelines and schedules, how often to submit, what the expectation is for feedback from MHEC, and the like. Get your all blessing on that template. We'll take it to the full commission at the May commission meeting for their blessing, and then we'll have some implementation date. First round of letters of intent are expected sometime over the summer. Does that all make sense? Questions, concerns with that proposed timeline for implementing this? Dr. Keyes?
No questions about the timeline, but I wanted to go back to where you were presenting things from the bill before, and you said on the third item that something about, not previously circulating the letters of intent and not posting that anymore. And so I just want to clarify, the letters of intent are different from the program proposals.
Correct.
So the program proposals will still be on the MHEC page once they are in circulation.
Correct.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Absolutely. But letters of intent will no longer be circulated, nor will they be posted to the website. It will be MHEC's obligation to inform institutions that have potentially duplicative programs, or institutions that could be collaborative partners. That'll be MHEC's role and responsibility to reach out to specific institutions in those instances. Dr. Ganji.
So Emily, just thinking of the timing of all this, will we have to wait for that to be done to put in the full proposal? I can imagine, some of our faculty wanting to get started as soon as possible.
Yeah, if you're ready to submit a graduate program proposal for our next 1st or 15th, submit it. Until we have a date for implementing this new process, I'm not going to recommend that you wait until we have the process. Continue to submit a proposal. But as soon as we say this is going to become effective, then we would probably reject a proposal. We would want a letter of intent before that.
Yep. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, please continue submitting graduate programs until we get this process figured out. Dr. Meyerly.
Second, Dr. Key's kind of point, if there's anything that could be done to simplify the full proposal, then in light of Dr. Perlman's, very accurate points about how we are under just such federal assault at the moment, that anything that can be done to not double the work would be greatly, greatly appreciated.
Yeah. Well, we welcome the feedback. So any information that you can share with us about your internal processes for us to do alignment so that we're not asking a slightly different question that has to be answered in a slightly different way. We are open to those opportunities for alignment.
And also seconding the more frequent opportunities to submit, the better, the more agile we can.
Right. Yep. Understood. One more clarifying piece of information. While this is required for graduate degrees, we would encourage institutions, if there is concern about duplication or potential for collaboration for undergraduate degrees. We won't turn it away. We would be thrilled to do that analysis just to get ahead of any potential duplication. But it is certainly not required for undergraduate degrees, but we would welcome it so that we can be an early participant in those conversations if you think that there is potential duplication. But certainly not required. Okay. Dr. Milner.
You must have read my mind, Dr. Dow. That was going to be my question, particularly when we had our conversation about the renewal and reapproval of statewide designation and things of that nature. So just wanted to double check. Thanks.
Yep. Yeah, we would encourage it, not required. President Power.
Just one last question. Thank you so much. So at the last meeting, we sort of did letters of intent and then the process that would go, timelines, that sort of thing. So in our next meeting, will we sort of be covering that focus? Excellent.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we'll come back to you with a frequency that both our staff can handle. And again, if we can just try to get through one round, tweak it, we'll do another round, tweak it, and then refine it, and then we can get into a schedule. Yeah, we'll talk through that. We'll come to you with some suggestions and reasons for why we're suggesting it that way so that you understand why we're making the recommendations we're making. Before we move on to the next topic, just a reminder, if you can send us your internal templates, your internal processes for developing new programs. And again, if we can do alignment, we will. We welcome that feedback. Okay, I'd like to just spend a few minutes talking about some general updates around program review, things that are going to be forthcoming to this group moving forward. One is some standards that we have been working on around unreasonable and unnecessary duplication. House Bill 1244 separates those two as two different concepts. I don't want to go into the details of it, but I want to put it on your radar that we will be bringing some draft standards around what unreasonable duplication means versus what unnecessary duplication means. So that is a forthcoming meeting. Another forthcoming meeting as part of House Bill 1244 from last legislative session is we are obligated to develop a new process for fully online programs, 100% online programs, and not only fully online programs, but fully online programs that predominantly serve out-of-state students. So again, that'll be a future meeting, probably sometime over the summer. We have some draft processes for feedback and thoughts, but I'm sharing this all with you so that if you have ideas that you want to tell us now, sooner rather than later, we can work to accommodate that information as we continue to draft those standards and those processes. Finally, and again, we will be bringing this to you all for feedback. We are thinking about some not regulatory changes, but organizational changes to the proposal template for a new program proposal. to clarify the questions we ask, to give a bit of background again of why we're asking it so institutions can give us a bit more detail. So again, we will come to you all. That's the purpose of this advisory council, is for you all to give us feedback around any kind of program review process. And so that includes templates and processes. So those are 3 things forthcoming your way, and probably is the remainder of our calendar year for discussions. Unreasonable, unnecessary duplication, fully online programs, and a revised template for program proposals. Our next meeting, so any questions on any of that? Thoughts, comments, concerns? And again, I think that'll fill out the remainder of our calendar year in terms of meeting agendas.
Dr. Dow, can you just so I can keep up with it, maybe I'm slower than most, but just send that to us just so that I can look forward to it. And I know how important it is to attend the meetings. Not that it's not already important, but knowing what that is, it would be helpful. Thank you.
Not a problem. I can provide that in a summary follow-up email. Absolutely. Okay, at 9:49, those are the updates. Any other business? Anything for the good of the group? Secretary Rye, do you have any closing remarks?
No, thank you for everyone's suggestions and collaborations, and especially thank you to you, Dr. Dow, and your team. I know this bill is just one thing that has added a lot of additional work on your colleagues. So while we acknowledge everyone's work, I also want to acknowledge your team's dedication and a lot of work that has come through this bill. But I think as a group, once we move forward, not just letter of intent process, we want to make sure that everyone's suggestion has been heard. And the process that we have, it reflects the suggestions that came from this group. That's why this group exists, right? So once we have a process, then we are all supporting that process, that we all work together and we came with this process. So really looking forward to that. And the entire academic program approval process, we realize it has been challenging in the state for years. But you know, how are we going to assess our work as a group? Are we making a difference, right? So we have to start thinking along those lines as well. Again, thank you to everyone for their time, suggestions, and guidance on this work. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Our next meeting, I believe, is May 18th or 19th. And I'm sorry, I don't have that date readily available. I should have it. It's the 19th, May 19th. May 19th, 10 a.m. See you all then. More communications to follow. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.